Okay, badge bunnies, blue falcons, donut eaters, and energy drinkers. Old retired porch sitters. We're back again. Real American Blue. A show where you can hear where old retired guys can talk without an internal investigation. So pick up your power rings and coffee. Sit.
Here we are.
Hey there.
Anyway, this is one of the shoot the bull sessions that we're going to do, just about everything. And I was sitting somewhere, whether it was a porcelain Harley or whatever it was. I was thinking about things and about lazy people and about different things and about people getting free shit. And it pissed me off.
You just talked about most of America.
Yeah, well, so I wrote this thing and I posted it on Facebook. It said, so you need money, you go to work or start a business. The business is a risk where you invest your time and your money. And the work is working a job or career to make life manageable and pay bills, support a family, buy nice things,
Yeah.
do things like that. Well, some folks like free things. My father always said, nothing in life is free.
Yeah.
Somebody pays for it. Folks who take advantage of others is like the classic fable, The Ant and the Grasshopper. Do you remember that one? The Ant and the Grasshopper, an Aesop fable?
No, that's way back.
Yeah. It's what I was told when I was a little kid. And it basically was a bunch of ants are out gathering up food for the winter. They're bringing all this stuff in, and you know how ants work. They get in a long line and they bring their shit in and they work as a team. And this grasshopper, the way the story goes, is he's sitting there playing a fiddle, just no care in the world. And winter comes, and this is kind of a shorter version of it. Winter comes, and now he's freezing his ass off outside the anthill, asking for help, wanting a handout because he wasted that entire springtime and summer to prepare for the winter or to prepare in life. So that story is a perfect example for how people act nowadays, And it's crazy because we got politicians, the same kind of people. You got politicians who are ants that are always busy doing stuff. And then you got the ones that are like the grasshoppers and we know them. We've heard of them. The ones that just lost Jasmine Crockett and AOC and all these other ones. They blow their horn all the time and they don't really do anything. When they were in Congress or still there, have you heard of a single bill that they push forward? Anything?
I follow them, but no, I haven't heard of anything other than the gum flapping.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of the politicians, the ones that actually work and do a good job there, had worked a job. Mark Wayne Mullen, that one guy, people were kind of taunting him or ragging on him a little bit about being a construction worker, not being a veteran, not doing this. That guy, he fought MMA, he did all these different things, and he worked, which is, you can't say that about like Bernie Sanders, who's never worked, who's gone to protest, was a professional grifter during the 60s. All he did was get free shit from the government, and now look at him. He's got 3 multi-million-dollar homes, a
Yeah.
bunch of fancy cars, and that's kinda why people that work hard get pissed, because you
Yeah.
work hard, they take your money, and they do stupid shit with it, and then we're still working. So,
Yeah.
anyway, and, it goes on, the thing I wrote, it said, "The ones who earned are always paying for the ones that don't, like the fable, the ant and the grasshopper." There are politicians who've taken advantage of the system, continue to do so, that when they run for office, here's the thing about it. This is why it's so important to take money out of politics. Take it all out. No money. They have to be able to do kind of what the founding fathers wanted. You know, if you're going to do your time and get out. Don't make a career out of it. And these politicians, they run around asking for donations, and you give them money. They go, "Yeah, we're gonna protect gun rights," or "We're gonna take guns away," or whatever their issue is that you find near and dear. So you give them a check. Here's $5, here's $100, here's $300. If you're a corporation wanting a professional lobbyist that can pass laws for you, of course you're gonna write them a check. "Oh, this is for your PAC fund for $300,000. Keep this in mind when you get elected."
Yeah, remember.
Yeah, and but they do that. So they take your money to get in office, then they tax you to take more of your money, which is absolute bullshit, because you need to be able to keep, and then you get a guy like Trump in there. You may or may not like him. He's got a mouth on him. He comes from New York. He's like your best friend that you hang out in a bar with, you know?
But he's getting shit done. Can't
He
knock
is,
him for that.
and they don't like that. They absolutely don't like that. Anyway, I think what has to happen is the people, you and me, we need to involve ourselves more because, I've talked about it before with you where there was an organization that I got involved with a little bit. It's called the Tennessee Center of Self-Governance. And they started a little chapter in Arizona, and it was called MrsPowell.org. And Mrs. Powell, if you know history, was when they signed the Declaration of Independence and Benjamin Franklin came out of the hall. She was the wife of the mayor, I guess, of Philadelphia or wherever it was at the time. She asked him, "What type of government did you give us?" And he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." And
Hmm.
we're having a hard time with it. And, they've made it so hard for a working family, for individuals to keep what they earned, to keep it. They, s- it's one thing if you're spending money on military defense, certain programs, things like that, law enforcement, firefighting, they, those kinds of things. But they don't stop. And
Yeah.
if you or me had a bank account, well, we got bank accounts. When you get below a certain dollar amount, you don't just keep writing
Winning.
checks.
Yeah.
No, you learn to tighten the belt. Instead of eating steak, you buy top ramen noodles and tuna, and you do anything you have to do. I don't see a single person in Washington doing that same thing.
No. They
I
expect
don't.
everybody else, but
Yeah.
they themselves won't.
Yeah, and they like the free shit. They like it. They like getting paid. Right now, with the government shutdown because Democrats are crying about uh, Homeland Security and ICE. ICE has been funded, but the rest of what is it?
DHS.
The what's it, DHS? The rest of them, Coast Guard, they're not getting checks. Secret Service, I guess. There's some organizations that are important that aren't, and these little asshats keep doing it. They every time a bill comes forward to fund it, they shut it down. The only one that's opening his mouth and saying something about it is
Fetterman.
Fetterman.
Yep.
And you know, I had my thoughts about him when he was running against
Yep.
Dr. Oz, and I go, man, look at this slob. But he's the only one on that side with common sense.
Yep.
The rest of them, Mark Kelly, that other guy who says he's a Marine, but I don't know that, the guy from Arizona, Grijalva or whatever. Those guys don't give a shit about us. They really don't.
They want their position. They want their power. They want their money.
Yeah, and they're getting paid. The guys that are on the front lines aren't getting paid, and right now we just had ISIS-inspired attacks. Austin, Texas, New York with the bombs, remember? Those
Yep.
improvised IEDs that the guys weren't, thank God that they weren't smart enough to figure out how to make those work because they're too busy bitching about shit. And, but they didn't make them work. And then the synagogue,
Yeah.
the guy driving a car in the synagogue, and they were all naturalized. The guys that are here, the ones doing it, they're ISIS inspired. And you hear these mainstream media guys talking like that. Oh, no, they're not. Not at all. Oh, no. You got to be kidding me.
They just jump on the bandwagon of denial with all their other friends.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, and folks out there, we all kind of think this way. We all think we can see through their bullshit. We really can, because they're just saying it over and over and over. And now Fox News, Newsmax are showing these old videos, and now they're popping up on Facebook of Chuck Schumer saying,
Yeah, I saw that.
Obama's gonna be, when Obama was president, he's the toughest one so far on Iran. He's doing all this stuff, all these sanctions and all these, and I'm like, and now Trump's actually doing something,
He's getting
and
snubbed.
and Chucky Schumer's speaking out against it. That tells you the people that are in there. And that's the other thing. They've been in there for 100 friggin' years. 100 years. 1979, when the hostages were taken in Iran. I was in the Navy. I was active duty over in the Mediterranean on a ship. And Joe Biden was in the Senate or Congress. Chuck Schumer, Barbara Boxer, I can name them. They were there
Just under
forever.
50 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm in my 60s, and that guy's still there, still running his pie hole. And yeah, and that's the other thing I saw, the insider trading thing that Nancy Pelosi's involved in, and most certainly the others.
Oh.
Because they only get like what, 100 grand a year or whatever it is, something normal for what they do. That's what we taxpayers pay them. But now she's worth like $23 billion or some shit.
Worth a lot of money.
Wow.
So she invested well. You know, she was lucky that she made the right choices on her stocks.
Oh yeah. Kind
Yeah.
of helps when you're sitting making laws and hearing all that insider trading. I mean Martha Stewart went to prison for that shit. And that's where the double standard is.
Yeah.
That's exactly where it is. You can have some people held accountable and other people not,
Yeah.
you know?
Sad.
And anyway, so one of the guys that had been on the show, you know him, Johnny Mack
Yep.
from New York,
Yep.
great guy. A week ago or so, he did a show talking about making it so if you live in a gun state, like a Second Amendment state where you can carry openly or carrying concealed. Dan Bongino the other day said the same thing, and I feel the same way. If you live in a state, Arizona or wherever it is, or you have a gun permit in some shithole that you live in now, you need to start carrying it.
Yeah.
You need to carry your firearm and you need to practice with it because and the other thing, keeping your head on a swivel, knowing what's going on around you. When you spend a long time in law enforcement, you have a tendency to do that, everywhere you go. But now more people need to do that because you're going to be a victim. It's going to happen. It can happen anywhere. And with these last ISIS inspired terrorist attack, you know, you could be a victim or you could be hailed as a hero for putting a guy down who was getting ready to do that.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what do you think, Rich?
Well, previous to last year, I think our government let us down with the borders the way they were unsecured, and you're getting. We have a lot of anti-American people here within our borders that are just waiting for an opportunity to inflict pain and injury on us.
Oh
And it's
yeah.
sad, but it's factual, it's truthful. They're here, but people aren't willing to see it. They aren't willing to hear about it. Um, there was a portion of my career there. I worked here in the Phoenix area at the Counterterrorism Center, um, and the information, some of the information we were getting in the 3 years I was there about things that might be coming over our border, things that might be happening with the borders. Um, that was back in 2016, 17, 18, in that time frame. But the things that have happened since then, I just can't fathom what
Yeah.
how bad it was or is now
Yeah,
because of that.
and then when I was doing it, when I was a district detective, auto theft, did all the detective stuff, we'd get emails from either ACTIC
Yeah,
or the FBI, like a bolo, be on the lookout for this guy, be on the lookout for that. And you'd see them and they were from all over the world. And then the one organization, and I don't remember which one it was, and I don't think I disclose it even if it was, but they were sending out like a weekly or every couple week newsletter showing what cartel activity in Mexico and all the violence down there. I
yeah.
know I know in Phoenix, drug cartels are already there. They're already
Oh yeah,
working.
they're
I know.
cemented in here.
Oh yeah, they're here. And then, it's not like the Italian mob in New York. I mean, these guys are ruthless. We got the Russian mob here. We got
Yep,
the oh yeah, it's ugly. And these people came in across the border.
yep.
Oh, they just I can take you to spots in the border. I don't know about now, but back then I could take you to a spot where you could walk right into Mexico. Nobody was there. Nobody guarding it, nothing. It was just open desert. And that's what we got to live with. And
Yep.
you know, and then you got these Democrat asshats in like Virginia or wherever it is that want to take people's gun rights away to be able to defend themselves. And
Again, they
I'm
think
like,
that's a vote. They think it's a vote going after or gun control but,
yep,
as we spoke about on air, off air before, guns are no dangerous than anything else. You can leave a gun laying on a table, it's not gonna go off by itself. It's not gonna hurt anybody until an idiot gets behind it and causes a problem with it.
yeah. And the thing about it is those idiots that get behind it and cause a problem and then go after people or get enraged, they generally have red flags that pop up,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing. They were
Well,
going overboard for a while with some flag laws. Red when you enact a law, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna fix shit.
nope.
It doesn't. You know, you can have a law, no spitting on the sidewalk. What do people do? Spit on the sidewalk. Are you gonna go out and enforce everything and get everybody? There's not enough cops. It's not a priority. And but it's like what I said, you know, Democrats don't want average citizens to have guns to protect themselves, their families, and others, even though we have laws on the books here in Arizona for justification of doing that. And, you know, we have what the castle doctrine now and all this stuff. But they're so used to that little rant about guns are bad, guns are evil, guns are the root of all evil. And when we take your guns away, then we'll take your money away, and then you're not going to have shit, and you'll just have to sit there,
You'll have to
work,
do
and
what they
give us
say.
your money, right?
Crazy. Absolutely
Oh yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I can tell you that, and the two newest examples of where in Virginia, where that ROTC shooting was that
Yeah.
deemed a terrorist attack from a guy that got arrested, did prison time for
Yep.
terrorism. He gets out and goes and does it again. He got out in what, 7 years or what it was. He got a 10-year sentence. They let him out early.
Well, he was good. He was good behavior.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it kind of funny though when you meet uh some of the guys that you deal with, they get out of jail and they suddenly find religion. And it lasts all the way for like 3 days until they get their first high, where they figure out they need money, so they do a burglary. And that's the same thing with that guy. He's gonna tell them what they want, and then when you have liberals that buy into it, go, "Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you said you're not gonna do it again. Here you go." And we've seen it. We've seen it time and time and time again, where they just keep committing the same things. So,
Well, in
I don't
defense of, one or two out there, there are some that have changed their lives, and we know that. We had one on the program,
yep,
believe he's still
Tracy.
doing well. Yeah, Tracy, and he did a complete turnaround and is
Yeah,
doing phenomenal and successful. And
yeah.
there's others.
It's
But
it's it's kinda like being an alcoholic. If you're an alcoholic and you recognize it, you get treatment, and then you stop drinking, you put that mindset in and you get support from your friends and family, boom, you can get over it. Same thing in being a criminal or drug addict. You got to have that commitment.
Yeah.
You got to be able to break the habit. Tracy did a great job on it. And it was totally surprising, you know, with everything in his life. So,
Oh,
but
yeah.
getting back to the subject of keeping your head on the swivel, you go somewhere, you gotta always be prepared.
Yep.
You gotta be prepared for the worst. It's like you hop in your car, like me, I hop in the truck, I go down to the dollar store to get some ice cream. I pull in the parking lot and I see something going on. I sit in the truck and watch. I mean, nothing happens, but I'm giving you an example.
Yeah.
You just pay attention to what's going on around you. Look at the people.
Mhm.
Look at the people. There was, in fact, the dollar store a year and a half ago. There was a gal that worked at the dollar store that got killed in the parking lot.
Oh,
Her husband, who she was divorcing, went into a fit of rage and went there and shot and killed her in the parking lot. And I
yeah.
know that's a public place. People come and go. And you pull into the parking lot, having that head on the swivel, paying attention to what's going on, you might have been able to do something about it.
Yep.
And that's the same anywhere. You're driving past a church and you see a guy parked down the street looking at the church. Oh, it's like the old Clint Eastwood bank robbery one. Remember? He's
Yeah.
like having a cup of coffee and he looks outside and he sees like cigarettes at the car running outside of a bank and the cigarettes out at the side of the car, the driver's side. And he tells the guy to call the police
Yeah.
and he goes
Look.
across this. Oh yeah. Dirty Harry was a hero. I mean, that character, he took care of shit. And now people are so afraid to do shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. And in fact, I remember reading something when Gabby Giffords got shot down in Tucson. There was a guy with a CCW in the crowd that could have stopped it and did nothing. Just because you carry, just because you see shit, you got to be able to act. You got to be able to do the follow through.
Yeah.
And that's where training comes in, all kinds of things. You got to be able to
What was
rec-
his purpose for caring if he wasn't going to take action
yeah.
ever?
And then it turned out the guy that shot her. I remember, what was that sheriff's name down in Pima County at the time that said it was probably some whacked out conservative, and it
Mm.
turned out to be a guy that actually worked on her campaign and was a Democrat. And then the parents, and they were from guess where?
California.
California. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Aren't most
And
of these uprisings and incidences all involving Democrats? Not to be party picking, poking here, but
it sure seems to be. It sure does seem to be.
yeah, I don't know of too many Republicans that have been in the news in the last year, 2, 3, 4 years for
They keep
creating
they
any
they
issues.
they keep falling back on J6, January 6th. They keep saying,
All
"Oh,
they
that's
have.
an insurrection." If it was an insurrection, somebody would have got charged.
Yeah.
Somebody would have got charged. But nobody did. They got trespassing. And oh yeah, I don't know. And who was in charge of that, Congress? Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Ah, Wow.
Yeah,
It's crazy. But what goes around comes
comes
around,
around.
and it does. And I know right now, from what I understand, there's an investigation into her over her insider trading by
Yeah,
the
but what
DEA.
would they really do if they found out she's guilty? What would they really do?
Well, it depends. Well, I remember when they found out about they interviewed Biden about having classified documents stored in a box next to his Corvette in the garage,
Yeah, what happened?
and they said, "Oh, he's a feeble old man who's incoherent and it, you know, not well. We've seen it, not likely for prosecution or something. Remember that saying where your case gets dropped? No reasonable likelihood of prosecution. There we go.
Hey, I used to get them back. Well, I shouldn't phrase that. That was a bad phrase. I've seen them come back, and I did get one.
Yeah,
Lack of jury appeal.
yeah, no jury appeal.
That cracks me up. Is the jury supposed to be, cheering, "Wow, we've got a great case here to prosecute," or how about we just have a legitimate case here to prosecute?
Yeah.
Where's the appeal? What do they have to do? Hoop and holler?
Yeah, I don't know. And it goes back to what I was
Yeah,
saying. When you stop enforcing certain laws, those laws are going to be walked on. And it's like speed limits.
yeah,
That's a good example. Arizona had the 55 speed limit forever. It was a federal mandate for highways that came in the 70s so with the gas crisis, 55. Well, then when everybody started raising it, Arizona raised it. It was 75. But there are people out there that aren't happy with that, are there?
yeah,
So you change the law to make it a little better, 75. People said, "Well, that's bullshit. That ain't fast enough." Oh, gone. They put it to the floor. I've seen guys on the 40 going over 100, middle and over, long stretch going over 100. I just shake my head at times because depending on the time of day, a big elk might just walk right out in front of you.
yeah.
Then you don't have time to stop. But yeah, people do that. It's the craziest thing, but we need to start doing things the old fashioned way, I think.
Yep, get back to the beginnings. It sure
Make
did us
people
well for a long time.
make people accountable for their
Yeah,
actions. And yeah, because you know, and the guy the guy in that ROTC shooting, that guy got out on good behavior and then goes and does it again with a gun. How did he get the gun? You know, it's
yeah,
funny. They don't want good good
people, yeah,
they don't want the good guys to have guns. They want the bad guys to have guns because they just do. They let them out early. Here's a 20.
"Oh, you'll be fine."
Yeah, hey. Oh, and by the way, here's a $50 gift card to Dick's Sporting Goods. Go buy a gun there. And if you do it quick enough, the system won't catch up that you're a convicted felon and you can't buy a gun. So, or you just steal it.
What they do most of the time, they buy it off the street or they steal.
Yeah. And then they go back. And this guy, I guess, was in the National Guard in Virginia or something. We've had a few people get radicalized. There was that guy that was a major or something over in Texas that went in and shot all the army guys in the chow hall or
Yep.
something. I mean, it's one thing after another. We just need to quit talking about it, fix the problem, right?
Yeah, maybe they need to, with all these, and not to pick on the group, a lot of great people serve in the military, but maybe some of those new recruits in the last 5 years or so, they need to go through their files a little bit more
Yep. Yep.
because most of them have been youngins with very little time in.
Well, we got some really smart people out there, I mean, and I'm saying psychiatrists, things of that nature. They got to come up with a system. I mean, we do it in law enforcement.
Yep, I was just gonna say.
A psychiatric exam, they say, "Oh, hey," and it could be something simple where they just say they ask a series of questions or have you read something. Tell us what you think.
Yep.
And it's that it actually conquers a whole bunch of stuff. It's retention, it hits on cognitive ability, all that. And then maybe you might see a little wacko thing come out of it. Whoa.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
had all
these military guys see a lot, 10 times more than the at
Yep.
one shot more than the average officer, and sometimes, it takes its toll on them, so
It
why should they not go through the same tests, the process that a law enforcement officer, goes through? They're doing the
yep.
same thing. They're protecting internationally, we're protecting nationally.
Yeah.
I think it would be fair to send them through.
I think here though, with the current environment, with these terror cells that are potentially here out of that 22 million illegal aliens that came in under Biden, there's potentially a lot of things that can go wrong.
Yep.
And that's why carrying a gun, sometimes 2 or 3, or at least more magazines and ammo, because you don't know what's gonna happen. You know, especially younger parents, you go to your kid's school, go to pick them up. Schools have been a target, churches have been a target, large gatherings, as we
Old folk
saw.
homes
Yeah,
used to never be, but
yeah, and that
changing times.
yeah, and it needs to be thought of, and you can do a decent job at fortifying these institutions to protect the people that are in there. I mean, that synagogue in Michigan, they spent like $1 million on stuff and had just gone through that training like a week before or something,
Well,
and it still happened, but the kids that were there at the time, I heard, were safe. The security guards took care of business, armed security guards. And I think we need to do that here in Arizona. We need to do it at our schools. We need to start following the recommendations. It, that's been the common thing at all these places, lapse of security, soft spots where they could get in and get in easy and then wreak havoc.
yep.
So,
Changing
w-
times. We've got to prepare for them and keep up with them.
yeah, well, it's not, well, we knew the threat's always out there, but
Oh
now
yeah.
it's going to happen again and again and again because we're at war with Iran finally. You know, I don't know. Anyway, what else is new?
Not too much that I've really kept up with. It's pretty much the same current events as you. The I think the war you mentioned in Iran has really been the hot topic lately, and all the things surrounding that that's going on, that we see and that we don't see in
Yeah,
towns.
yeah,
Because there's folks that don't like us that are preparing for that next wave of uh, injury infliction on us, and
yeah. It's kind of hard
it's
here
coming.
when they do the protests down in Phoenix and they throw water bottles and stuff.
Yeah.
as it gets closer to the summer, it's a little harder to keep those bottles frozen when they throw them. You know what I mean? And they throw you
Yeah.
a bottle and you catch it in the air and go,
Drink
"Hey,
it.
thanks."
Yeah, that's not their
But
intention, I don't think, but
yeah, it didn't start out that way, or it's frozen when it left their hand and it's all melted by the time it comes to you.
where do they get those hundreds of frozen bottles from? Huh? You gotta wonder.
Yeah,
Where's the preparation start? Who's
yeah,
the one supplying?
the professional signs.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's funny, the flags, first it's Palestine and Gaza and all
yep,
that. Now it's Iran. Now
yep,
whatever the flavor of the week is.
yeah.
And it's coming from somebody that's got a lot of money,
Money, yep, yep.
probably George Soros,
Oh, he wouldn't
dishing
do
out,
anything like that.
well, giving out the money because they got a severe case of
TB,
TDS.
yeah,
You know, it, we gotta do
yeah.
something. Arizona, we still have 24th Street in Van Buren. It's not as used as it was
Was,
in the 60s and 70s, but I think that and that's a tool that law enforcement has. It's a 72-hour, 24-hour, whatever it is,
yeah,
psych eval, and if you got something like that going and you recognize somebody, freaking get somebody involved, get a court. Cops can't do it, but a court can. A judge can issue an order for that evaluation. And I don't know if a Democrat judge would, but I know a Republican judge probably would.
mm,
And that might have even saved uh,
countless
Timothy,
lives out there.
yeah, Timothy McVeigh and that Nicholas guy or Nichols
Yeah,
when they blew up that federal building. That pissed me off. But there were probably red flags leading up to that. Somebody would have said, "Hey," but then law enforcement needs to be able to receive that red flag and act on it because I
yep.
remember a Phoenix FBI agent wrote a memo about those Middle Eastern guys learning to fly
Right down
uh,
here at Deer Valley Airport.
and here at Emory Riddle up here.
Yeah,
And they weren't too concerned about landing a plane. That should have been something. And he wrote a memo sending it to Washington, and nobody did anything with it. And then the
yeah,
rest is history. You
true.
know, you gotta act. If they say, what's that thing? If you see something, say something.
Yep. I was just gonna say, I know some intimate details, I don't wanna get too deep into it, but when that, individual was just recently stopped over at the, State Farm Stadium,
Right?
I don't remember what the event was. Um, it may have been for the Charlie Kirk thing.
Uh,
The short of the story was a local, um, worker, in that immediate area ran into the individual on the property that they were working at, and the guy was asking questions, and uh, and it just didn't seem right. So they took action and they spoke to someone above them in their uh, business that they were at, and that information got sent out, and it developed into a bolo, and it got to the folks that were doing the security around the event for the days there, and someone said, "Hey, isn't that guy over there?" So it worked, and that was, see something, say
yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
that
Well,
I don't know if that individual's got the recognition they deserved. I hope someone expressed a sincere thanks to them, but they
yeah.
took action, and it worked.
Yeah.
And that
And it does work, but you also have to have law enforcement pay attention to stuff
Yep,
like
they
that.
did, they did.
We had a I had a guy, he's that's a long, long time ago when I was working patrol. He was funny, just an old timer, kinda homeless, lived in a milking barn down by the Last Chance Indian bar. You
Yeah,
know what one I'm
yeah,
talking about.
on the border there,
And
county
I'd
line.
always check on him and a couple of the other homeless guys, bring them water and stuff during the summer, and Tim Dorn, watch commander, I said, "Hey, you gotta see this. It's like the Lost Boys from Peter Pan." We drive down the alley along the canal, and that guy came out and started to talk to me. A friggin' trunk to a car opened up and a guy climbs out of the trunk and they all come over. It was funny. There were like 6 guys there all talking to us about it and telling us stories about stuff. But the one old guy, he would tell me a story about a judge who was crooked. He said, "He's crooked. He's doing something with insurance." And he was specific and all this stuff. And Tim Dorn happened to be there listening to the guy's story too. And a lot of times when you're a cop, there's you got a guy telling you that, you're going, "Yeah, okay, yeah, right, right." Couple weeks go by, I go to detectives. I'm in my detective office and I come into the office and Tim Dorn was the district commander, and I came in the office and there's a friggin' newspaper on my desk. Judge, and I'll leave the name out, indicted for insurance fraud.
Wow.
And he had some kind of scam going with Mexico insurance or something, selling people. But what was crazy was this old man who you would never assume had anything to do with the judge or knew,
Hey,
because he was homeless, living out here. So from that point forward, I I I'm a big guy and a big believer in quotes. S- different quotes have meaning that you should put in your life. And I found a quote, and it just said anonymous. It wasn't attributed to anybody specific. So if anybody out there knows, message me, tell me who said it. But it said, "Never assume the obvious is true." And by that, here I am assuming this old guy lives in a barn, homeless, doesn't have a pot to piss in, had information about a judge who got federally indicted, and you're like, wow.
yeah,
And it lives up to that quote. And if you take that and as a cop and encompass that saying, never assume the obvious is true, where it applies to everything. You can go to a DV and the woman's saying all this stuff. You talk to the guy, you get his side, you get her side, and it turns out she's lying or he's lying. It takes more information gathering. You have to gather that information. You have to make a determination based on statements and evidence, right? And witnesses if there are any. But um, yeah, never assume the obvious is true. Never. I mean, you can go somewhere and all of a sudden, well, that looks like a stolen car. Hold on a second. No, it's not. You know, you just can't make assumptions.
nope, nope. Do your work.
Yeah. But I can tell you when Dorn came in and dropped that on my desk, I was like,
Wow.
no shit.
How someone so far down the food chain knew so much of someone way up at the top.
Yeah, it's kind of like there was a movie with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. She was an FBI agent. He was like this kook, this guy that was a little eccentric and had all this information in his house, books and stuff, and he was a conspiracy guy. And what it turned out was what he was telling her about this group of people was true, but nobody would listen to him. Nobody.
Well,
And you got to take some of that stuff with a grain of salt, because if you don't, you like the FBI memo going to Washington, you don't do anything with it, and look what happens.
history.
Towers fall, people die.
Yep.
And but that's a responsibility of a good law enforcement officer. Take notes. That big word I learned when I was brand new, copious.
Copious.
Take copious notes. Because if it isn't in your report, it didn't happen, right? And you got to get that stuff. Keep track. And here's the other thing. Just because somebody's giving you information doesn't mean it's a criminal report, doesn't mean it amounts to a crime or anything. But at the office, we could take an information report.
Yeah.
So you take an information report, because now with the way the system and AI and all this stuff works with our report system, it could be searched. And let's
Yep.
say something happens where you get more information and you work tactic, you know how it works. Boom. You put in keywords for a search engine, State Farm Stadium, comma, you know, whatever, bomb, all the keywords, threat, see what pops up in the report world, and you might get that information report that graveyard cop took
So, yep.
in District 1.
Opens up your case. Get it going.
Yeah. And it's like there's a lot of laziness out there now, a lot, and the people deserve better. People deserve better. You're getting paid to do a job, and now you're getting paid really good. So do your job.
Well,
Right?
again, we spoke about it many times in the past. If there was, and we're talking about this industry, specifically law enforcement, if you had good leaders, if there was good leadership, your people would be more apt to get out there and do their job. But
Yeah.
it just, yeah, I think that's the problem right there, is leadership at all levels.
That's part of the problem. And
Part of the problem, absolutely.
the
You
other
have to have the
part of
right people hired into the job, but you sure have to have the right people directing those people.
yeah. Yeah, you got to have good people, and then you got to be able to recognize people in
Yep.
their natural abilities, because some of this is a natural ability.
Yep.
You can have the friggin' biggest muscle-bound clown you could ever think of, in shape, can run, can shoot a gun, all that stuff, but he can't think on his feet, He can't go, "Hey, what about over here?" It's that peripheral vision you gotta have, but it needs to be in your head,
Outside
or
the box thinking.
you got to. Of
Yep.
course, my only fault back then was I think I was thinking outside the box on every investigation I did, but then I was thinking 2 or 3 boxes over, which, you gotta maintain a little bit of control on it, because if you do that, you think outside the box, you can get stuff solved.
Oh,
You can
absolutely.
really get it solved.
Absolutely.
Anyway, it looks like we're getting closer.
Yeah, we're getting close. We've jaw-jacked, shot the shit for almost 1 hour. Didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, it didn't amount to nothing.
No.
But like my my new intro. How'd you like it with
I liked it a lot,
that
and I
voice?
have some ideas. We're gonna talk this next week off the air for that.
Yeah, I liked what I did, but AI has its limitations at this point.
Yeah.
So if we can get one of those guys you were talking about
Yep. That's what
to do that, like that guy on Laughing or whatever, because like I said the other last week's show, I think I got a face that's too ugly for TV and a voice that's not good for radio. So we got to come up with something.
we gotta get something going. Yeah.
But
Who we have next week? Anybody lined up? I don't think so. We were looking at that pre-show, but I don't think we figured that out. But I know the Sunday after on the 29th, we have a great guest coming in, Rodney Glassman, running for Arizona State Attorney General. Um,
and then let me look.
Again, that's on the 29th.
I got the calendar open. That's an inside jokes, folks. On the 12th of April, oh, and Easter Sunday, we will not be doing a show on the Sunday. We may do it
Saturday.
like Saturday or yeah, Saturday. So, but on the 12th, we got a guy that's going to come on because we're coming up on the 100th anniversary of Route 66, the Mother Road.
Yep. Yep.
And a
And you're
guy
right
that
off
did,
that.
yeah, oh yeah.
Our
That's why I
main
call,
studio is right off of Route 66.
and that's why I call this Studio 66.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with disco, but yeah, on the 12th, a gentleman, his name's Jim Ross. He wrote a book on the origin from Route 66 start to where it is today.
Wow.
And for those that don't know, coming up in April, there's a lot of big events planned for Route 66. There's a fun run where hot rods from all over the country come, and we got the longest stretch of Route 66 still in existence from 3 miles east of me going west through Seligman, Peach Springs, Hackleberry, Valentine, all the way into Kingman. It goes into Kingman.
Wow.
And then it goes up through Oatman, Arizona, up the mountain and drops down, but I don't know how far. I think it just goes to 95 over that way, but then it picks up again in California.
Wow.
But it's going to be a big thing. And this guy wrote a book on it from the start, everything about it. And it should be a good show.
Okay.
Anyway, and then, yeah, I don't see anything else coming up unless you know of anybody that wants to do
No,
it.
we're working on some things. I know we both are, as we've spoken off air, but hopefully we can get some of these guests lined up and get them on the show for the people because
Yeah.
they've got a lot of good information to give out to the folks watching.
Yeah. I actually am working on another congressman. I actually met him at a barber. I was up getting my hair cut, and it's funny because he got there parked next to where I was parking. The place opens at 9, and here it is, like 8:45, and he's sitting in the car next to me. The barber gets there, opens his shop, and goes in. This guy gets out of his car and goes in. I go, well, I hope he knows you got to have an appointment. I didn't know who this old guy was. And it was funny because I go in and I sit there and I'm a little bit steamed thinking, why
He's
is
cutting
he
in front of
going?
me.
Yeah, why is he in front of me? I didn't say anything. And then he goes to leave and the barber goes, oh yeah, that's Paul Gosar.
Oh,
I go, really? He looks taller in TV. You know, the old thing. So I run out, hand him a business card. He said there that his scheduler has to do the setup.
yeah.
So we may get him on.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll give them all an opportunity to
Yeah.
voice their information, no matter what their views are and what party. But we'll give them all. If they want to reach out to us, we'll take them.
Hey, there's one last thing I keep forgetting to do. Las Vegas. If you go to Las Vegas a bunch and you like going there to gamble, to party, do whatever, it's a fun town for a couple days and then it gets old after that. But I went a few weeks ago to the Mob Museum,
Oh, that's right.
and I forgot to mention them guys. What a what a cool place! It's actually put in the old post office slash federal courtroom or federal court for the District of Las Vegas. So there's been mob guys in there on trial,
Well,
and
a lot of history.
yeah, it's a cool place. They got a lot in there. There's stuff that you could see. There's stories about how Vegas got started, which we all know. Bodies out in the desert and all that shit. But there's
We're in
one
Lake Mead.
there's one mob guy that actually talks there. He has a regular thing. I got a book from him. Frank uh shit. Here it is. Hang on. Frank Calabrese Jr.
Oh yeah.
He signed it for me. But him and his father and his father was like just a and they were out of Chicago. They weren't New York mob guys like I thought, but they were Chicago mob guys that were had ties to Vegas and Kansas City. So
Oh
if you've ever seen the movie um, Casino, remember
yeah.
it's based on them guys.
Wow.
And he actually, when he was telling his story about it, it, it that movie comes up. He talks about it. He says, "This was it. This is it. This is it." And wow, there's a lot of information there, and it is the place to go check out. I was trying to set up a podcast there, a show to do there, but they have some kind of contractual agreements and different things that they couldn't let me do it. But it is worth going and see. And then they got a distillery down in the basement,
Oh,
and it was fun. It was good. Good food there, good things to do, and it's worth spending a few hours there.
so the
So
folks heard it from you. The Mom Museum, Las Vegas, the place to go to.
yeah, and it's right around the corner from a restaurant. I think it's called Sinatra's, an
Oh,
Italian restaurant. So it's worth checking out. And it's down by Fremont Street, the old part. So a lot of history.
okay. There you have it,
Anyway,
folks.
anyway, that's pretty much it. Watch for a show. We may have something surprise pop up by next week. I don't know. We'll see.
Hmm.
And
If
anyway,
we'll check
uh,
in and we'll see you soon.
yep, we'll see you.
Okay, folks.